Into the Nexus is a production of amove.tv. Bookmark Amove TV for other great video games and esports podcasts. Into the Nexus is sponsored by listeners like you via patreon.com/ITN. Welcome back, everyone. Whether we're home the whole time or just getting back from BlizzCon, we are here for another episode of Into the Nexus. I'm Garrett Weinzierl. He's Kyle Fergusson, and we're shaking it off. We're shaking off that con, man. We're shaking off that con crud, which I didn't catch for the first time in a long time. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. My con crud is totally self-imposed as I drove to BlizzCon.
Oh.
So you can imagine positional players pay a lot of attention when driving in LA. And man, it exhausts me. I got to wake up my fingers. They are big, stupid, dumb things after a week and a half, and they are not prepared for the minute actions that are required. And here is the storm.
Yeah, I know that feeling all too well, Kyle. That's kind of the funny thing about BlizzCon, right? Like, you go, and unless you're a pro player, you probably don't play a lot of games. You play some. That's kind of the goal. You want to go and you want to try the new things. But you're definitely not getting in your daily session of gaming that you might be getting otherwise. So you come back from the mecca of Blizzard entertainment, and you just kind of stink. And you gotta brush off the dust.
I remember 2 years ago when I missed BlizzCon, and the saddest thing was when you're at home, you can digest all the information in about 10 minutes. But when you're there, you're caught in the excitement of it. You're caught in the moment to moment of the release being leaked to you. You're that little hamster on the water, and you're just clicking as hard as you can.
Yeah.
But everyone else just has a big old bowl they're swimming in.
Yes.
And you get back, and you're completely confused. You don't know what half the abilities are, and you stink at playing. So it has been a week. I'm getting readjusted. Of course, like many, I'm playing Dahaka this week because he was all over the Heroes of the Storm eSports, and I've been loving myself this dinosaur. But I have been bad. I apologize, Quick Match.
You're leaving an open apology letter to Quick Match right now?
Sure, they can have it.
All right,
just this week, though.
Fair enough. Okay, all right. Just clearing that up. Yeah, dude, BlizzCon was a lot of fun. I've been hearing from a lot of folks all week that didn't attend that they were a little underwhelmed by the convention. Obviously, we were there. And I have this to say about BlizzCon, that it is never underwhelming when you attend it in person.
To highlight which matches are the best for you guys is nearly impossible, because all you know is the energy of the crowd. You are stuck in a screaming mass, and you get so caught up in it that Fnatic, while they may not have been my favorite going into it, became the best team in the world, and I've never been into something so much in my life.
Yes, I was right there with you. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But I'm talking about in terms of announcements, Kyle. Announcements for the games, for the most part. Esports are great, and the esports are usually not always. The years of StarCraft finals have taught me that you never know what you're going to get going into a finals of a Blizzard esport. But it's usually good. Semifinals are always good, almost always. But it's more about the announcements of the games, and I don't think I don't think everyone's saying that it was underwhelming. I don't think they're off base. I think it was the one of the quietest BlizzCons in terms of announcements. It was definitely, I think, the second quietest BlizzCon for me personally. Were you there the year where they opened up with the Chris Metzen Geek Is presentation, the infamous Geek Is presentation?
That was the 1 year I missed.
Okay, yeah, that was the quietest freaking BlizzCon ever. And you could tell.
Maybe don't lead with DeepMind.
Well, they didn't lead with it, but maybe don't have it in your opening ceremony at all.
Maybe there's a small panel on the side. I thought that was awesome. I was really into that idea. Frightened, of course, as someone who does coaching, that a computer could take my job. But luckily, it's only being tested in StarCraft right now, so we're all good.
It's being tested to beat people, Kyle, not teach people.
Hey, he said eventually it could evolve into that.
Yeah,
and if they can get the nuances right of tilt in an AI system, then maybe I don't need people anymore. But for now, Computers will never get upset. They will never throw games. You'll never get inside their heads, and they're just not worthy opponents.
Oh, so they're not worthy opponents for you because you can't scare them.
We've been down this road before, but I love the lament of my enemies, and one of my favorite things in the world is that Skeleton King has his speed decreased when he connects a Drain Hope, so that you slowly march after them as they run away as fast as they can.
Yeah, and to the chat room saying Deep Mine was super interesting, I don't disagree with you. I think it is super interesting. I don't think it's part of your hype trailer. It's not part of the, the big opening ceremony part. That's just not. That's not where. I don't think that's where that type of announcement belongs. It can be its own panel. That's fine. No big deal, guys. But how in God's name did all of that crazy World of Warcraft announcements not get any airtime in the opening ceremony, but Deep Mine did? I'm so confused by it.
That's because it would have been a JPEG image on screen, though it was presented so darn well. I mean, they could have done the mounts, right? That was really cool for World of Warcraft. But the whole reveal of what's coming next for that universe was so perfectly delivered. And I wouldn't have it any other way. And in fact, I have this tradition when I go to BlizzCon now of the first year is just because I literally couldn't get in the main hall because it was already full and we were running late. So we went over and just sat in a random area. But now I make sure I go to the most removed place I can and watch the introduction from there. And this year it was inside the Overwatch room, which, first of all, just had an incredible entrance.
Yep.
It's the difference between Six Flags, where you're going to ride some good roller coasters, which is what the Heroes stage was, and then Disney World, where like Buzz Lightyear standing outside and tells you why you're riding the roller coaster. It changes things. And that Overwatch stage puts you in the mindset for something fantastical.
Yeah.
But I was watching it in there, and one of the coolest things was seeing what an Overwatch crowd cared about the most when it came to Heroes of the Storm. Guess what? They care about Genji the most. They were completely unmoved by everything else. And then Genji does a front flip, and everyone goes, "Oh!"
It was a cool skin. I was expecting a Genji reveal for Heroes, and it didn't come. So, hey, it is what it is. But
the two heroes we got were pretty darn cool, though. I'm disappointed at 2. I think we all expected a couple more. But for the current cycle of releases, I think 2 is very healthy because they don't need to reassure us that there is more coming. It's not slowing down.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there as well. And we are hot off the heels of a lot of big things for Heroes this year, right? Like, I don't know what else to expect. We just got 2 Battlegrounds. We just had John DeShazer on and learned how long it takes to make a Battleground. So I was not expecting new Battlegrounds to be announced. And like you said, man, they've been sticking to their schedule so well. They don't really need to do what they did at last year's BlizzCon. It was cool. It was great to see all that kind of stuff. I mean, I think a third would have been fine. I think Cho'Gall last year kind of spoiled us. Like, we were almost expecting some type of wacky, this is Heroes hero. But
fair enough. Augmenting buildings may not be the most exciting thing, but what they've done with RAG is incredible.
No, I'm going to stop you right there. Augmenting buildings is a very exciting thing, and it is absolutely incredible.
But it's not on the same caliber of Cho'Gall, 2 players, 1 hero, right? I mean, League of Legends has a hero that can use buildings in this sort of way. It's just not quite as fantastical or give you that, well, like they said, raid boss mentality.
Yeah.
And really, just to throw everything aside, that animation we got for the reveal was incredible. And I seesawed wildly in the audience between, is it Deathwing, is it Ragnaros? So I went on the ride, and it was a fantastic journey. And, I'm starting to think here that the Nexus has nothing but dead characters in it. I mean, are we building the lore of this place? Is everybody dead inside?
Well, there's a lot of people in it who aren't dead yet in the lore.
Well, it depends on the universe, right? Who's to say that your future World of Warcraft self won't go back to the past and fix a previous expansion where Jaina died?
You're going deep for me. You're going very deep for me. I'm not against it. And I'm going to move past it, but stay on subject by saying that reveal cinematic was one of the most beautiful things to ever come out of Heroes of the Storm. It was moving. I got got kind of misty-eyed, like nerdy misty-eyed. I'm not gonna lie. I had a Pixar moment with it. It was just freaking gorgeous. I even had a chance to zero chill geek out on Russell Brower, the one of the main composers from Blizzard Entertainment, when he showed up to the live Instant/Angry Chicken after BlizzCon for that reason. I mean, the music was just absolutely incredible in it, and good guy, man. With everything that happened in WoW, and everyone knows I'm a WoW fan, I wasn't expecting like this, one of the best monuments to the fall of Varian Rin to happen in Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, it actually was. And then he's walking past, and you see the other characters, see the Tyrael sword. That could be anybody's. And then you have the Arthas helmet show up. It was a real cool reveal. Mm-hmm. And I am crazy excited about Varian, not only because he seems to be really well made, and he's got his hybrid business going on, and all the sounds of warriorness in there that is just going to completely spoil us if they ever come out with a priest or warlock, or, well, I guess we have Gul'dan now, but we're all going to want our classes from World of Warcraft to be full hybrids moving forward. But it's very elegantly done, and I'm super stoked about it. And I love a dude with a sword. Who doesn't? I love playing my monsters, but sometimes you just want to be a little fancy.
I've never thought of Varian as fancy.
He's quite fancy. I don't think I'm actually going to be a good Varian. I am a horrible predictive player. As I learned when I scared the crud out of my wife driving through LA, I tend to take brake lights as suggestions. Yeah, because I'm always hitting my little brakes. I'm give it a little pump here, give it a little pump there. Doesn't mean I'm stopping. So I frighten some people sometimes.
All right, good.
As I wait to the last minute. So I am a bad Medivh. I am a bad safeguarder on Morales, because when an arcane orb is flying at my guy, my brain doesn't say, do it right now. It says, wait and see what happens.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, from Varians, and we're just moving right into news. No bumpers needed. Let's just do it. With Varian, I see why you think he's fancy given his kit. I mean, the parry is just... It's
so short.
Yeah. It's nuanced. I think it's a good word. And you're absolutely right. It takes a lot of predictive play, right, to use parry correctly. I really dig him. And I didn't play him at BlizzCon. I immediately went to Rag, and I really liked Rag a lot. And for obvious reason. I mean, Rag is like, he's animated lava. He's flashy. He's a raid boss. We've all, if you played WoW, chances are you've run into him at some point, whether it was back in Vanilla or it was again in Cataclysm or back when they brought Molten Core as an anniversary event. You've probably fought Rag. If you played Hearthstone, you know who he is. He's just so iconic. So I just wanted to get in there. I just wanted to try him. I wanted to see, how does Ragnaros stack up in Heroes of the Storm? And the answer was, amazingly, I love him to death, but I wasn't immediately drawn to... I was very excited for Varian, but once I knew Rag was a thing, I'm like, oh, dude, no, I want to be a raid boss. So when he hit the PTR this week, and I tried him, dude, I was so pleasantly surprised how much I really dig him. He feels... Parry aside, he feels like a WoW warrior. And that...
Why do you say the parry?
Because parry is not... It doesn't feel... The way parry works in World of Warcraft versus the way that this works is wildly different. Absolutely wildly different. It plays like an action game in Heroes of the Storm, and parry, it happens passively.
Fair enough. It's hard to use. You only got, 0.75 of resistance? Oh, no. Looks like they buffed it up since the build we played, which is lucky. It's now up to 1.25.
Yeah. So that's kind of to me, I definitely look at that as a big skill cap thing. But you know me, remember when Tracer was brought into Heroes of the Storm, all I could talk about was just how impressed I was with getting the feel of Tracer right in a game where you play her with completely different controls. And that's what I feel they have nailed here again with Varian, is it feels like a warrior from World of Warcraft. And I've played a warrior before. That's what I learned to tank on. It's really super awesome to me.
There's some really exciting things in this kit, too. I think the most exciting thing about him in total is that you're not really going to have any team fights before 10 anyway, based on the map, but I'm thinking like Dragonshire. You're going to have all these scrappy little 2v2s, 2v3s, 1v1s, but the real team fights don't get together till later. So the fact that you can use him as the sort of bruiser assassin and then eventually become a tank and adjust your attack speed accordingly when you make that change just gives you such a strong early game. And I'm really excited about that. It's always a bit of a bummer, like Johanna right now. You're probably doing Burning Rage to give her that aura around here that does damage, because later on you want to tank through some fear and some damage, but your damage through the whole early game is bad. And Varian sort of counters that. And you can always just make the choice later to say, I'll just keep doing damage.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And he's fun to play as a damage character.
He is. And they've done something really elegant with the smash, the heroic strike. But also the Colossus smash is just so good. Basically what you're looking at is you got tank, then you got burst bruiser, which is going to be the two-hander, and the Colossus smash. And then you have the twin blades, where he splits them in half, cool animation. And he gets attack speed and movement speed as he goes. Right now, basically everyone's saying that Colossus Smash doing the bruiser build is going to be superior, because otherwise the two-handed approach, or the dual-wielding approach, means you have to be in the fight for way too long. It's awful dangerous for him.
Yeah, it's all about attack speed, right? At that point, it's kind of your basic attack build.
And making sure that you can stay sticky enough on your target to get out the increased DPS that you do have. But it's a lot easier to just run in, get a big hit out, and then run away.
I can't help but notice you didn't talk about his tank ultimate taunt. What do you think about that? Because I think it's so again, the tank in me. I think it's so clever the way they've made this work.
The tank ultimate's very interesting to me. The taunt, 25-second cooldown, which is great. And it forces the enemy hero to attack you for the same duration that your parry lasts, which means you can, if you choose to at level 4, you can make that protected and be able to withstand all the damage that you pull off someone. This is extremely helpful in a situation where you're up against Vala, she's wailing on your squishy, and you just make sure she hits you for a bit. But outside of resisting the damage, it doesn't last long enough to really drag someone somewhere. You're not going to use this to truly reposition someone. Maybe a melee who would otherwise run away, let's say Thrall, you see him, he hits that Wind Fury, he's going to book it out, but you say, nope, you're stuck here with me. He auto-attacks you, you resist them all, because that's what parry does, and he's stuck there and dies. Really exciting stuff. But it is single target, which means you should know exactly what you're going to be taunting when you draft him.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Or you just draft him first and say, we'll see what happens.
Yes. And he's built in a way that you can, you don't have to spec him. You don't have to go down that route and make him a tank if you don't want to. And that being said, I know you wanted to talk about the other option at level 4, Warbringer. Because
which also got a buff since our BlizzCon build we played, and it is now up to a full second-long stun added to your charge. Do you know how many stuns we have that are point and click in this game? I don't think you can ignore this talent.
It's amazing. Like, without the stun, just the cooldown reduction on charge is phenomenal. But you add a stun to that, and suddenly you're a lethal Uther? What is happening?
Now, they didn't add the animation where they look like they got clotheslined. I'm a little disappointed in that. But otherwise, it does the boar running sound, which we all know.
I was like, what do you mean, like they got close? Now I know what you're talking about when you're hit by a charge and you fall on your back. Yeah, okay. Well played, sir.
I don't know why they give that to my priest, though. I'm putting down holy feathers, and I make a boar screaming noise. Please change.
Can't help you. I'm sure there's an add-on for that, Kyle.
Those are not allowed, sir. You can't change the game files. No one would do that. There's a fantastic talent at 16 I also want to highlight. Shattering Throw. Cooldown 30 seconds. Activate to throw a sword, dealing a small amount of damage to the target, but up to 3,000 damage to their shields. This also passively increases your damage, your basic attack damage against shields by 200%.
Yeah, man. That's a really cool tech choice depending on what you're playing against.
And, of course, that could be Zarya, that could be a Nubarak. From the text here and from my little bit of experimentation, it doesn't overkill the shield. If a Nubarak is sitting with his small, tiny little 200-point shield, you're not going to do 3,000 damage of overkill and go on to his own health. But that is a really cool counter given how many shields are coming up in the game. We're going to talk about Zeratul later, who actually gets the shield talent. He's Protoss, so he should have some sort of shield, right? It's a really exciting counterplay, and we've seen them really experiment with ways to deal with auto attacks throughout their builds, but we haven't seen anything of this level with shielding.
Yeah. Sorry, I was having some audio issues with my headphones there. Just making sure I can still... Can you say hi or something?
Welcome back.
Okay, cool. Sorry, mixer problems. I'm not going to ask you to repeat all of that, but I am excited about it.
It's real cool, man. Breaking shields. I look forward to it. I don't look forward to the guy who breaks a friendly Zarya shield and then pumps Zarya to maximum.
Wait, what?
Well, you see, Zarya puts shields on other people. And if Varian so choose to unleash 3,000 damage into an allied shield, Zarya is going to get nuts and own everybody.
Oh, you're right. I hadn't even considered that. And I guess that would work the same way if it was on Zarya's own personal shield.
Yeah, but if you're attacking Zarya when she's got a personal shield up, you're just saying, you're dead, honey. You're out of position.
Or
I'm going to burn through you.
Or you're playing wrong and you aren't actually
or you're
burn
playing
through.
wrong, right?
Yeah. Which I would argue is the same thing if you're attacking somebody who currently has her non-personal shield on them. But it's neither here or there.
Sometimes you kill them.
I like tech choices. I also like Shattering Your Throat because I remember when it was added to WoW and it excited the crap out of me because I could pop bubbles.
So lots of really cool nods throughout this. The banners, as I'm sure many of you have seen, are awesome and play music for those in the area. They only work on allied heroes, so he's going to be a team player.
Yeah, you even bring up the banner specifically in the interview that I failed to mention at the top of the show. We did get to sit down with two developers from Team 1 on the BlizzCon floor. We talked to John DeShazer, who was just on the show. We also talked to Claudio Gentilini. Terrible at last names, even though mine is impossible to pronounce. So if you're listening to this on the audio podcast, it will be tacked on to the end of the show. If you're watching live or on YouTube, it is being uploaded to YouTube as a separate interview alongside this podcast. So go check that out. But yeah, you brought up the banners during that interview, and I finally had a chance to play them since it's on the PTR this week, and I ignored him because he wasn't lava enough for me on the BlizzCon floor. The banners are really, really flippin' sweet.
Well, and he's coming out this coming Tuesday.
He is, yeah. It was not waiting long, right? That was the. I'm trying to think. That was the League of Explorers moment from this year's BlizzCon, right? Because last year they announced the Hearthstone thing, and they're like, and it's coming next week. We didn't really get anything like that except for Heroes of the Storm, which we could kind of expect since they're sticking to their release schedule.
Well, Hearthstone, it was kind of exciting, right? Blizzard saying, and a patch coming next week to Heroes doesn't exactly stir any of our emotions these days. For good reasons. I'm very happy, of course.
Yeah, right. It's a good problem to have. We're having that problem because they're so consistent with updating this game. So, anyways, how much do you want to talk much about Rag? I know no one can play him right now. All I think I really want to say is his kit is awesome, and that Lava Wave ultimate is so much fun.
I went with the Sulfuric, I think it was called, Slam. The level 10 that gives you an area effect stun on a pretty big delay, but it is also very powerful. He's good to go. He's not limited by his trait that allows him to take over buildings. Of course, that's an incredibly powerful way to swing the tide of battle and destroy a Zerg wave on Braxis.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's limited at all by his trait. I mean, it's just incredible. He does so much damage when he takes over a building. And it's Ragnaros, man.
But you're not sacrificing anything for that. He is 100% a capable assassin with his own self-sustain, and that you can increase over the course of that. He has his Living Boulder, which is using the same sort of tech we've seen with Alarak. And in fact, a number of heroes seem to be getting updated for a more point-and-drag kind of control. In particular, in the upcoming patch, we're going to have Zul's Skeletal Mages. You can point and drag and decide how you're going to lay them out.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a much better way to play the game, especially, I mean, it's played but with a mouse and a keyboard, so why not use the mouse to its fullest potential? And I think that the other big thing to understand with Ragnaros' trait, like if you're concerned about not being able to move or whatever, and you have to be stuck there until the timer ends, it doesn't last that long.
No.
And rightfully so, because he's very powerful when he takes a building over.
No, in fact, he has a health bar, and that is his timer. So in the first couple seconds, you will be extremely strong, but if they target you down, you could easily throw this away, just like you can with a Gargantuan that's poorly cast or a Tychus laser.
Yep. It does feel like a heroic that's built in from level 1, though. I mean, it does do a lot of damage, and it's on a very long cooldown. But look forward
Not exactly useful at level 1, as most people are inside the range. They haven't gotten through your wall.
You are absolutely correct, Kyle. It's just interesting that you have it so early on.
Sure. Hey, anti-Sylvanas cheese, right?
You're right. You're absolutely
Can't be shut
correct.
down. You're a hero, not a building.
Yeah. That's interesting. Or pair him with a Sylvanas, which isn't that great because the fort needs to be down before he can take it over. So I guess you can help take down the extra tower. That's not that powerful.
Right, and then you're gonna lane real hard for 10 seconds or so.
I mean, that's a fantasy I want to live out just because of his Lava Wave heroic. I mean, it's just like, This guy was born to lane. But not really, actually, because you can just do that to any lane. You don't even have to be in the lane. So that's fine. He's a really cool kit. Definitely playing when he hits the PTR, guys. Really fun.
The scariest part about him is he's too cool. And that's going to happen. Anytime we get a hero that's too cool, it's going to be a horrible release week for us all.
Yes.
No one's going to play anything else. Everyone will think they're ready for ranked. Just the way it's going to happen. Whereas you put out someone like Chromie, it's a little weird day 1, and then only the passionate players keep going.
Yeah. I got in on day 1. I haven't really touched Chromie much since that opening week. But
He's level 2 for me.
I will just wow, okay, yeah.
Well, I played a lot on the PTR. That's where I record the videos, so
yeah.
She's real high level on the PTR.
I'm gonna just stay away from Ragnaros launch week. That's what I'm gonna do. But let's talk about other things we learned at BlizzCon. They gave us some stats. Apparently, 46% of the player base is in quick match, 30% in ranked, 16% versus AI, and only 8% in unranked, which surprised me. I will be honest. I expected more people to be playing unranked since I play it quite a bit. But I guess this is explained why I see the same players in unranked quite often.
It's an interesting environment. I don't choose to put forth the effort there and even play unranked for the most part unless I'm with friends, because if I'm going to win somewhere I draft, I don't want to waste an unranked.
Well, until the future season test where Hero League is going to become solo only, I still really enjoy duo queuing in Hero League. So
sure,
unranked is where I go to practice right now because quick match is just wacky.
Yeah.
So wacky. Unless I'm playing a hero that I have no intention of ever bringing into Hero League.
It's an impressive number for quick match. It makes a lot of sense. I think the 30% for ranked is a very healthy demographic. And it meets with our own perspective from what we've seen in our community, as the majority of players, 50% in this case, just want to play the game how they want to do it. And about 30% of your player base is going to become more invested and seek out podcasts, videos, and shows to make themselves better.
Yeah, and even that being said, we hear from listeners a lot of times that do experience ladder anxiety, that do not play Hero League. I mean, it's not uncommon to be very passionate about this game, but not have an interest in the competitive side of things.
Yeah.
And that's a perfectly fine way to play. If it's ladder anxiety, just press the button, just go, just do it. But if it's not for you, it's
pick every talent you can for the situation so that when it's over, you have the idea in your head that says, that was an experiment, that was a good try, I gave it my all, and there's no reason to get upset in that position.
Yeah. They also said that they're going to redistribute some of the rankings. Apparently the majority of players should be in silver and gold, but they said that right now silver has too many players in it and that more will go to gold. Not sure how that makes me feel, but okay.
Well, I'm sure for the wealth of silver players who think they can, be a part of that community that's going to be bumped up, it's very exciting. I think gold should be, the top of the bell curve. It's right there in the middle.
Yeah, makes sense. They also said the diamond is too overrepresented and they want it to be more exclusive. So I'm sure some people will be getting ushered out of diamond. Scary
thought, right?
Yeah.
But they also said that there was about 11% of the player base who ended up in rank 1 in the preseason, which was also a bit of an, but I worked so hard. So, hey, if I get bumped down to platinum because of MMR or whatever like that, Bring it. I just got to get better.
Get good, son. And yeah, you heard me mention, but they did say in a future season test that Hero League will become solo queue only, and that Team League will be for 2s, 3s, and so on in queues. I'm assuming that misses 4, right? So it's got to be 2, 3s, and 5s.
Solo player and
in Team League. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
No, this isn't a Disney ride. They're not going to be like, oh, hang on.
Single riders, short queue, single riders.
Which is the best, unless you're riding old Space Mountain where you got to sit between someone's legs.
Ooh, gross. I didn't think about that. Anyways. Yeah, so this makes sense. I'm pretty excited about this. I know you are, because you're the king of solo queue.
Yeah, and I've felt the sting of the Valas with a dedicated support on their side. So I'm really excited about this. This is my people, my language. Bring it on.
Sweet. Need to get more team leagues going. But 5 stacks again. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. Those are coming.
Yep. And we're getting a new promotion called the Nexus Challenge that will be taking place between the 15th of this month and January 4th. It'll be running that long. We get to party up with 1 or more friends. And if we play at least 15 Heroes of the Storm games in co-op or AI, quick match, unranked draft, or ranked modes with a friend or more, we get the Oni Genji skin in Overwatch. We get Zarya in Heroes, and then we get the Oni Genji portrait and spray. That's really cool. Although, like I said, I was totally sitting there waiting for that Genji announcement and it never came.
I can tell you from the Overwatch room, this was really exciting.
It's a very cool skin, and Overwatch players, we are very passionate about our skins because the Overwatch team does a very good job on them.
It's good looking. I expect it'll bring over people. And if you go beyond that, if you go from 15, you go up to 30 games, you're going to get Ariel, Greymane, Kerrigan, Li Ming, a crazy new hover cycle, and a 30-day stim pack. And that is awesome that they're giving away some really very powerful heroes. Li Ming in particular here really surprises me because that's that Nova, right? That's something you can really be like, hey, guys, I'm going to use a bad word. Hang on here. Cover your ears. You want a pub stomp. Go get yourself Li Ming. You're brand new to the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would put Kerrigan and Greymane in that exact same category as well.
Yeah, I would too.
I mean, these are all high skill cap heroes. Ariel, Greymane, Kerrigan, and Li Ming. Yeah.
And let's say, I mean, hands down, Ariel is the most fun support outside of Karazim in the game right now.
I would argue that she is the most fun support.
Solo support.
Just most fun support.
I like Karazim better.
I know you do. I like Ariel better, and we're just going to have to agree to disagree. This is
I don't disagree, man. I love your Ariel. I love how she heals me when I'm playing my Lunara.
I know you do. I know you do. Before we move on and talk about the stuff that's happening in the live game, anything else from BlizzCon that you just have to mention? I mean, we barely talked about the eSports. I'm not really sure what to say other than I feel so lucky that I got to sit where I got to sit between the people that I got to sit between, my wife and you, Kyle, and watch the display that was Game 3 of the finals.
That Warhead Junction taught us nothing about the future of the game and how you should play.
Oh, the future of that battleground?
Yes. Maybe going for the boss every time you can, regardless of your current health or current situation on the map, is not the right way to play Warhead Junction, but it was fun.
But they had nukes.
They did.
The problem was the other team did too. Multiple. Yes. On both sides.
That particular top boss was incredible. If you're looking for more suggestions about what to watch, if you completely missed the games, check out my solo show, Solo Q&A. Went over a whole bunch of them. It's in podcast form and video form. That's where I spend more time on esports stuff. Going to go over stats this weekend and some replays this weekend. But really, the whole darn thing was a fantastic event. The casters did an amazing job. Every single pair, really well put together. And I was flabbergasted by the numbers of not only people in the audience, but people watching at home.
Yeah. No, I mean, that room got filled, right? It was loud.
Yes.
We were part of that, especially Kristen in her Sonya attire the first day, which I missed, but I was lucky enough to see on the sizzle reel every time they came back to the audience from a break.
It was fantastic.
It was absolutely amazing. If you missed the finals, definitely watch them. And big congratulations to both Ballistics and Fnatic for such an insane showing. And also, Kyle, dude, how happy were we that we didn't just end up with South Korea versus South Korea? Because that's what everyone was yelling going into this.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
It was nice. I think we were very eager, maybe too eager, for our European teams to beat Korea, but Americans got knocked out. They moved on to the next thing. And I just wanted people to celebrate for Ballistics a little more. That's my only sadness about those finals.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very American thing, and I know we're both very much not into traditional sports. You even less so than I am. I have my key teams that I will go and root for. But that I've mentioned it here before, right? Like that for the most part, as far as I'm concerned with esports, I just want to see the best. I don't really care where they're from. I want to see the best team win. I want to see the best play on display. Obviously, I too have teams. I have regions that I root for. I always want to see America do well. And I was definitely more invested in these finals because of the performance of Fnatic. I have to say, after these finals, I have so much respect for Fnatic. They had an incredible showing. And yeah, the final game was probably not the best Heroes I've ever seen, but the game before it certainly sure shit was, man.
Well, and Fnatic versus MVP, that was fantastic. Fnatic trained by scrimming Ballistics. So if any of those finals confuse you guys, decide why they're so wacky, this is what happens when teammates often fight each other, practice mates. Things just go out the window. Ballistics throughout the entire tournament, though, if you were into tanking, watch their replays. Certainly, if you're newer to Heroes, watch the VODs. Watch the actual casted events. Let those casters guide you through it. But if you are experienced at Heroes, go to masterleague.net. Download the replays yourself. Watch them in client. And check out, if you're into tanking at all, check out Ballistics, particularly what they did with Dahaka and their positioning. They are inspirational and incredibly skilled.
Well said. Well, there's a lot to say about the live game and the future live game because there's a mini patch in the game right now with lots of changes. First up is Mr. Kael'thas, Sun King's Fury. Sun King's Fury got a buff, Kyle.
Yeah,
got
5%
a buff.
buff.
It got a 5% buff.
It's still a touch. There's a lot of little touches in here.
Yeah, I'm personally very excited about it. I still like taking Sun King's Fury from time to time when I go my Living Bomb build, which is still pretty much all I play on Kael'thas because I can't remember the last time I lost the game with it. But
I can't think of a better hero right now for you to climb with if you're in silver or gold. Guess what? People's minds are on other things right now. You live in Florida, Garrett. It rains there every day. But the second it starts raining, everybody crashes their car. I don't know why.
In Florida?
They're driving it every day in Florida.
No, that happens in California because it doesn't rain every day. In Florida, it's fine. We're all fine here.
But when people are distracted, they're going to be bumping into each other. So if you want to climb this weekend, do it with Kael'thas and take this brand new increased Sun King's Fury.
Is that the closest thing we're going to get to a political statement from you? Which
That's
is
it, man.
Manipulate the...
How to take advantage of the current climate to win your Heroes of the Storm games.
All right, good to know. Very good to know. I'm so happy that that's where you took that. Anyways, moving on. I'm very happy about the Sun King's Fury buff. Murky got a minor buff to his pufferfish and his slime. So happy to see that. I love Murky.
They said more coming.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, they gave us a delightfully Murloc-themed developer comment, and then also seriously said, yeah, expect to see more. Vala got a minor nerf. The bonus damage per hatred stack on the punishment talent has been decreased from 5 to 4%. And then also the Arsenal talent at level 7, the cooldown reduction per hero hit was reduced from 3 to 2 seconds. And they said basically what we were expecting. The Vala's, she's in a very good spot. But they feel like the damage output compared to ease of use is too high on her multi-shot talents. So the changes to punishment and Arsenal should incentivize players, they said, into taking the higher skill versus reward talents on those tiers. We'll see if it was successful.
Good choice.
Yeah. Samoro also got a minor nerf. Can't roll the R like you, Kyle. Sorry. Basic attack damage decrease. Damage reduced on mirror images. Damage increase reduced on Illusion Master. And the teleport range was decreased on Shikuchi at level 13.
So a little less escape on a very popular talent that made him easy to play. And all around a little nudge down, and it is highly effective. And already today, I've heard multiple players saying that it's just not easy mode anymore. And in fact, he's down 4%, still very top of the win rate, but a good nudge.
Yeah. Now, Varian also getting a minor nerf. Shando's Clarity at level 1. The cooldown reduction was decreased by 2 seconds. Also, Moonburn had the bonus damage against non-heroes reduced. It was 100%. Now it's down to 75%. And at level 4, Loon's Grace, the ability range was decreased, a very minor decrease there. So you probably won't, unless you're really looking for it, I think it's still safe to take a Loon's Grace. So again, dev comments, nothing surprising. They said, hey, Malfurion just a little too powerful, toning him down, keep him in line. Same thing happened with ETC. And the dev comments were very similar, that he's a little too strong, we just need to bring him in. So you got a max health decrease, you got a base health regen decrease. Prog Rock at level 1. The reward ally heal was reduced minorly. It was at 53. It's down to 50. At level 7, Echo Pedal had the bonus damage to minions and mercenaries reduced. It was 100. Now it's 75. And then finally at 13, Face Melt had the slow amount reduced, but a fairly minor reduce. It's down to 50. It's a 50% reduction now.
So a decent nudge. It'll be interesting to see how this affects him. Of course, there's going to be ETC players dying when they didn't think they should for a little bit, but we're not seeing that in the win rates right now. He's going to be just fine. And then they went on to say, much like ETC, we've decided to bring down Muradin a peg, and then proceeded to buff his health.
Yeah. His health went up. His health regen went up. But other things got changed too. Crowd control level 4 now, in addition, refunds 5 mana per enemy hit. Skullcracker got some added functionality and now passively increases Muradin's attack speed by 25%.
All right.
I'm still not seeing any nerfs, Kyle.
Keep that nerf rolling.
Ironforged Momentum no longer decreases the cooldown of Dwarf Toss.
There you go. That's the one right there.
There you go. Okay.
That is the only one.
Yeah.
And we all know that Muradin has a really bad win rate. And it is perplexing because the pros believe that he is the best thing in the world. And you see him very tightly fought over in basically every esports match over BlizzCon. Currently, he's at 47%. Not somewhere that requires a nerf. This was the talent that was making Muradin's good that you weren't taking. Ironforge Momentum is what made the pros good. They were able to stick it out, get out some auto attacks, and then get a Dwarf Toss out of there, as well as the Dwarf Toss they used in or to reposition in the middle of the battle. All of us at home are going Piercing Bolt because we think it's cool to stun 2 people in a row. We were wrong. And now the ship has sailed, and they took away Dwarf Toss from Ironforge Momentum. I think it's dirty. I think this is a little too granular. I don't want my battle momentum talents now have all these affixes and but statements. It's a good way to ring him in, though.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? Think about every game where you've shaken your head at a Muradin. Why is that? Because they engaged with the Dwarf Toss, and they didn't have a Dwarf Toss to get out.
And when you really think about the good Muradins you faced, what do? They're almost dead. They turn around, start attacking you, and you're like, we got him. And then they leap away, and you're, that was really on cooldown already? I guess it's been 12 seconds, 10 seconds. No, it hasn't. It was this talent right here.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Moving on to Zarya. A lot of changes for Zarya, but it was mostly off-pick talent encouragements. They said that her power level is a little higher than they would like, and in general, her energy talents are stronger than all of the other options on their tiers, so that these changes should increase talent diversity and deliver a slight nerf to the hero. I'm happy to hear that. I'm not seeing Zarya all the time. This is part of my... I think it was the last episode where I made a comment about how I'm pretty happy with with how the draft is, right? I mean, I'm not even sure I mentioned on the show. I think we had this conversation off air, and you're like, yeah, it's great. Still very easy to mess up, but I mean, that's one of the reasons. Zarya, very strong. Not seeing her picked in every single game.
And these talent changes, I think, will ring her in a little bit. They mostly are working towards talent diversity, so some of your other talents are going up. Some of them are getting pretty cool, like Cleansing Shield at level 16 now decreases the cooldown of Shield Ally, so you have incentive beyond just missing your cleanses if you're not a predictive player like I am. Again, not breaking when you see the lights come on. Those things will encourage you to play correctly while still gaining benefit from something you may not be totally utilizing. And her energy generation, just through her own actions, is going down. So holding on to maximum energy will be more difficult, which is a very good thing, because right now they're just all running around with full energy. And it's not interesting.
No. And this makes sense, right? I mean, she released weak. They patched her and swung the pendulum extremely far in the opposite direction, making her very powerful and almost an auto pick. And now we're going to see that. We're going to see it a tweak. We're walked back, tweaked, brought into a place that makes sense, somewhere in between the weak Zarya that launched and the strong Zarya that came shortly after.
I'm extremely impressed with the hero design team. That we could go from Zarya, what do I even do with her? This hero is bad, to 2 days later when we're saying, oh my goodness, she's too amazing, when we haven't changed any of the functionality of the kit, just how the energy is built up.
Yeah, it's all tweaking those dials, man. Well, before we move on, so everything we just talked about is currently live in the game. Before we move on and talk about what's going to be hitting the PTR, on the PTR next already, but releasing next Tuesday, let's thank our patrons over at patreon.com/ITN. Will N, Robert R, Krond, no last name given, Victor B, Andrew B, Zachary S, and Alex P. Thank you so much for supporting Into the Nexus. We just flew out to California and it was very expensive, so it's extremely nice that we have so many of you supporting us on Patreon. And if you're a regular listener to Into the Nexus and you really enjoy the show and you want to support us, Patreon is the best place to do so. It's the NPR model. If you're getting some value, put some value back in. Show will always be free, but we appreciate everyone who supports us over on Patreon.
Now we just need tote bags.
Oh, damn, you're right. We do. We need like Frost Bros tote bags.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to doodle that out and let us know, go for it. But it was such a pleasure to meet so many of you. You guys are the reason why ITN didn't stop during BlizzCon. Years ago, there was this thing called BlizzCon that would come around and ruin every podcast you listened to for 2 weeks. That is no longer the case, thanks to your guys' support, and it was awesome. Ridiculously awesome meeting so many of you. Thank you for coming out to the meetup. Thank you for seeking me out through triangulated pictures. I had an absolute blast at BlizzCon and returned even more encouraged than I could possibly imagine.
Yeah, I 100% agree. BlizzCon, I think I tweeted this out, it has this amazing effect every year of simultaneously completely recharging my battery in terms of hype and energy and passion for what we are talking about, and at the exact same time making me more tired than I have ever been in my entire life. But you're absolutely right. Thank you so much to everyone that came out and said hi, everyone who came to the meetup. This year, more than any year, I heard excitement about this show specifically. Every year, it seems like one show kind of outweighs the other. And for whatever reason, I was expecting Overwatchers was going to be it this year. Overwatchers has grown very quickly. It's a popular show. And Into the Nexus, I mean, we're on episode 137. It's been going a while. It doesn't have that new shiny, sheen on it anymore. But more often than not at this BlizzCon, when someone would come up to me, say hi, ask me if I'm Garrett, which never stops being weird, and went to go compliment me, and more often than not compliment you more than me while they're talking to me, they mentioned Into the Nexus. There's a special sauce in the show. I definitely think there's a special sauce. There's something special about our friendship, Kyle, which is I heard a lot, and I agree with. So thanks, everyone. You gave us a lot of warm fuzzies, and we really do appreciate it. So thanks.
The only thing we need to back off of is the talk of how tall I am, because I heard we disappointed some folks. We built it up too much. At 6'4", it wasn't ginormous enough to meet expectations.
I don't know, man. I so seldomly come into contact with people who are taller than me, and I realize I'm not extremely tall. I'm 6'1", but although now I think about it, met a lot of people who are taller than me at BlizzCon.
Yeah.
So a lot of tall people out there. A lot of tall people. Well, let's move on. Thanks again, patrons. Let's move on and talk about the PTR notes, because that's coming at us hot and fast next week. A lot of changes to talk about. Right now, apparently, players will now be able to play through the tutorial and battleground training using 3 different heroes, Jaina, Muradin, and Tyrande, and they will be able to add one of those 3 heroes to their hero collection for free, which I think is super cool. But what about Raynor?
I don't know, actually.
I like Raynor.
Wait, no. Okay, so Raynor is no longer for free because he's part of the Recruit a Friend where you get Raynor and Sylvanas.
Oh, you are
So you're just not
right.
doubling it up. You get Jaina, Muradin, or Tyrande, and then with the Nexus Challenge, you'll be adding Li Ming and all those dudes to it. I think if you jump through the required hoops, which may be too much for new players to ask at times, but if you jump through those hoops and you're a brand new player, you can get out of here very quickly with about 7 or so heroes.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I would, as always, I want to rain on the parade by saying I would love it if all the heroes were free all the time, but it's not the game we have. And also, hey Kyle, if you want to buy Leoric, which means if you are a Kyle Fergusson fanboy, his price has been reduced. He's going down to $849/7,000 gold.
Hey, you don't have to be a fanboy of me. You can be a fanboy of MVP Rich, who also used Leoric in their Braxis game.
MVP who? Kyle Fergusson is my favorite pro.
He did a really cool job on him. Showed me a very neat build I'm very excited to use on Braxis. But Leoric's going up. They said in the developer comments that we're about to go through that Leoric had a graphical mistake that they are now fixing, but there's more coming for him very soon.
Also, we'll be able to select our preferred roles when queuing as auto-select in quick match and versus AI.
You can also go even further and set it so it's just your favorites, I believe. So for those of you who can't decide between 2 or 3, you'll have options now.
That's an added functionality I never thought I wanted, but it's actually pretty cool.
It is.
It's like, well, I just want to practice my stable, but I don't know who I want to work on. Let's, pull the slot machine. Pull the robot arm.
For me, that's a very important way to practice guys who I won't practice otherwise. Because you tell me that I've been gone for a week and a half and I'm not ready to play Tychus, I'll go, nah, I'm good. I got, 1,000 games on him? It'll be fine. Let's just go into ranked. But if I force myself, I select all my mainstays and hit that random button, maybe I'll actually practice things that are in my main roster.
Yeah. There's also a global change to stealth. Abilities that reveal stealthed heroes will no longer remove the stealth effect, but will instead temporarily reveal said hero.
Ooh.
Makes me wonder what else is coming down the pipeline, or maybe it's already here. It was Samaro, and they felt like they needed to tweak some things.
Well, here's the thing that's happening with Samoru. He has buffs that exist when you're inside of stealth, and if you break said stealth, he loses those buffs, that bonus damage, that vulnerability, or whatever it is you're going to apply to the hero as you pop out across Zeratul, Nova, and Samoru. So now they just sort of stay in stealth. They're technically stealth, so you're not completely negating the buffs they're sitting in.
Gotcha. They also went one step further and tweaked some of Nova and Samaro's talents, specifically tactical espionage, advanced cloaking, and covert ops for Nova, as well as Way of the Winds and Harsh Winds for Samaro. Those are now going to function while under the effects of stealth, granted by other players' effects. So Shadowstalk, for example.
Right, or Medivh's invisibility. And you can imagine, you get to level 20 on Medivh, you're like, oh, hook me up with that sweet stealth because I've got all these buffs while I'm in it. And then he puts invisibility on you, but it's invisibility and not stealth, and you didn't get anything. Now you actually will, and we might see some really cool strategies develop how the stealth teams come about, taking advantage of each other's abilities.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe it's too cute. You think it might be too cute, too special, snowflakey?
I think, yes, the right way to play is a nice balanced team.
By the way, sorry, I was cutting you off, but did you see that we're getting a special snowflake mount?
I sure did.
Feel good?
That's awesome. There's no in-game gifting yet, so Blizzard, please just send us a pile. Just a whole pile of the cards so I can anonymously give these out.
In a troll way?
Would you be upset? Free mount shows up on your account?
I would be if I knew it was an insult.
What, you didn't even know. You don't even remember the game. You're just thinking, maybe that was a bad Nazebo I played yesterday. Maybe I should ride this thing. Maybe, here's an exciting thought. What if we all get it? Granted, it's going to be part of some Christmas bundle, I'm sure, and then those can get rather expensive. But what if we all got it, and every time you play a hero you're not good at, you're practicing, you put on that special snowflake. And only change it out when you're ready. So we have a nice little language going in the background.
Well, that's a world I'd like to live in, Kyle, but you can't stop people from picking it just because they like snowflakes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's also
and they
Christmas,
might be in
man.
a Christmas skin, and it might look fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, Christmas is coming. We're getting a gingerbread Nazebo, which is nightmare fuel, by the way.
He is horrifying.
Yeah.
I love that he's wielding a decapitated snowman.
I didn't notice that.
Well, he always has his little fetish.
Yeah. Which people don't know of what a physical fetish is. Probably sounds very weird, but
right. Yeah. Moving on.
Back to the PTR patch notes. Scouting drone was changed. It now also reveals stealth and cloaked heroes. Seasoned marksman. The basic attack damage can now be gained past the previous cap of 40 bonus damage, and the activated attack speed bonus has been increased from 30 to 40%.
It's a pretty nice change.
I can't wait to try some of my auto attack heroes, man.
Now remember, this is seasoned marksman, so if you have a unique version of it like Illidan has, his own version was tweaked, but he does not have these effects.
Correct.
And we just glanced over it, but now Scouting Drone is going to show those cloaked heroes. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. That I liked Scouting Drone already as it was. The StarCraft fan in me is just like, yes, scout all the time, constantly, know where things are. And now that the fact that it reveals stealth and cloaked, all the more reason to consider taking it.
I love the toolbox. Even when you get on like Malfurion and there's no reason this guy should put out a tiny flying robot, even if his other level ones were better, perhaps, I just think it's really cool to add to your kit.
I'm sure at some point we will get themed scouting drones.
Right.
It's
well, Wisp
probably just not a what? Oh,
I
yeah.
know.
Well, yeah, Wisp is specific, but it could be, I don't know, a little. Oh, shoot, I almost said fairy dragon, but it's like, well, that Brightwing's a hero.
Wait. Yeah, right. We just worked through the two we can't have. Lunar has the Wisp already. There's a fairy
It'll be
dragon.
one of those spore things from so many of the bosses in World of Warcraft.
The little spiky spores that are like doing little flips and spinning around.
Little spiky spore. There you go.
Or happy little flower from, well, the Plants vs. Zombies in World of Warcraft.
Or keep it as a scouting drone, but theme it for the character. So maybe Malfurion's is covered in vines.
There you go.
So there you go. We'll figure it out. We solved the game. We solve your burning heroes questions right here on Into the Nexus. The Dragon Knight, the passive Rebel Maker on the Dragon Knight in Dragonshire has been changed and now also reduces the duration of blinds by 50%.
Same thing's happening with that Garden Terror.
Yep.
So don't bother blinding. Really.
No. Not super worth it. But, you know, a lot of our blinds might hit multiple targets, so just get it in there anyway. Why not?
Right, that's fine. And if you're not familiar with the Rebel Maker, this is where all those other bonuses they have, if they do bonus damage to buildings or heroes or whatever the effect on them may be, they also already have included in that a straight up duration decrease to stuns. So if you're using stuns, blinds on these player controlled monsters, they get lower value.
Yeah, they become empowered, basically. Well, let's get into some of the hero changes. Alarak had the range increased by roughly 10% on Lightning Surge.
Not a lot, but that means one more hit that could heal him and save his life, so he'll see a % increase.
Yep, or one more hit on someone that's going to escape that otherwise wouldn't have.
Why do you think we all do the exact same Thrall build every time?
You mean it's not just me?
It ain't just you that wants 30% range on your Chain Lightning at level 1, no.
Cool.
And it's not only you who gets into one of those brawls like we had the first week with the Punisher and goes, why isn't anything in range?
Yeah. Now, Illidan is receiving quite a few changes, and the devs said that they're aiming to make a few of the earlier talent choices for Illidan more competitive. So it goes along with the narrative of talent diversity that we've been seeing for over a year now. They said by increasing the bonus of unending hatred that they think farming minion waves and hunting into fights will be enticing on certain battlegrounds. And by allowing Unbound to grant 2 charges of Sweeping Strike, they think that talents like Battered Assault and Blades of Azeroth will showcase an Illidan that can dance across an enemy team and do a lot of damage while doing so. That last sentence excites me quite a bit. I hope they are successful with that goal.
The Unending Hatred Seasoned Marksman build for Illidan is extremely fun because every auto attack reduces all your ability cooldowns, including your heroic, which, as they highlight here, the hunt. And if you're on something like Warhead Junction in a far-off lane, you can be farming that to the last minute, almost ETC stage dive style, and then join that fight. It's an incredibly fun way to play that is currently quite out of style. But the most exciting talent change to me is Unbound at level 4. Unbound previously just allowed you to have your Sweeping Strike carry you over a wall. Well, Sweeping Strike also needs to hit heroes. It needs to increase your basic attack damage, to increase your survivability, all these sort of things dependent on your spec. So this was a wasted talent when put up against something like Friend or Foe, which allows you to dive to an allied hero. Now Unbound, after you hit 30 heroes with Sweeping Strike, will give you a second charge. So Illidan will have some real maneuverability all on his own without having to require your teammates to understand how Friend or Foe works.
Yeah. I enjoy that. We didn't even talk about the actual damage increase on Unending Hatred. It's sizable. The basic attack damage bonus used to be 10. It is now 20.
And look at how they nerfed Samuru there. And he is going down. If you look at just the results of today, actually, he's gone down 11% just on a tiny change like that. So 10 extra Illidan damage means that much more of a percent to a heal. Illidan survived something he shouldn't have. I think he's going to be real powerful again. Good.
Legion's out right now. I want to see more Illidan. I like my games themed around other games. Let's do this. Thrall got changed around as well. Earthquake has added functionality now. It now deals 50 damage to heroes with each pulse, and will also trigger Frostwolf Resilience.
Isn't that cool?
It is cool, but not as cool as Trixler yelling where all my Earthquake Thrall mains at yesterday on Twitter.
It's really exciting. I know it's not going to be the dream I expect, that I'll get all 5 heroes. No, wait, 7 heroes because Samoru's split in the middle of them. No, wait, 9 heroes because there's Lost Vikings in there as well. And I'll just be invincible running a monk. That it probably won't be as powerful as I'm hoping.
No, because why would... Maybe quick match on a fresh account.
Maybe. Why is the Lost Vikings all grouped up? Why did everyone participate in this fight? Who knows? It's a magical scenario. But this does encourage me to take Earthquake, maybe?
Yeah, I was going to say, even without, even with us realizing that a perfect scenario is a extremely rare occasion, I like this change. Earthquake is a really interesting heroic. I've always really enjoyed it. There's implications of it in team comps. Sadly, we hardly ever see it, especially in pro games. But I really like it. I love it when I end up on a team and that the stars align and it's time to take it. So this added functionality makes me excited.
They also went through and encouraged you to take it a little further by reducing the stun yet again on Sundering down from 1.25 to just 1 second.
Which makes that full 1 second stun on Varian, if you talent into it, seem that much crazier now. You now have the ability to stun a single target for as long as Sundering stuns targets.
Right. If you want to join us in this mental gymnastics, I always just think of Uther, who has Hammer of Justice, the stun that existed really outside of Rogues in vanilla WoW is 0.75. It's not even a full second, and it's an entire button of his kit. And you have to walk into melee range as the support.
You're a high health support. It feels good. I haven't touched Uther in forever, man, but I still feel like the sense of ownership around him.
You're protective. He's your baby. He's out in the world. Maybe you guys don't call each other that. Now I'm reminding myself I should call my parents once in a while. But
I'm sure they'd love to hear from you. I've met your mom multiple times. I can tell you she would. But yeah, no. Uther has a ton of health. Walk in there, land that stun. Don't be afraid. But that's not what we're talking about. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Sundering down to a full second. Let's move on and talk about Abathur, his Toxic Nest. He is now locked out of casting Toxic Nest for half of a second after exiting Symbiote. So keep that in mind if you're trying to spam a Toxic Nest immediately after exiting.
They wouldn't cast anyway, so now the actual refresher after you take off the hat will match the amount of lag that exists in the first place. This makes me sad, though, because why not fix the lag and make Abathur more snappy? Instead, they're embracing that he's a bit clunky.
If I were to follow that up, it would be armchair design, something along the lines of me saying, I don't know, this client really hammers my computer harder than most new games, so maybe there's something in there. I don't know.
Could be.
At level 7 for Sylvanas, the Possession talent can now be used on catapult minions.
That's exciting.
It is. I think, again, it's another one of the... This is I'm filing this on the Earthquake. This is a talent that I really like. I think it's supremely cool. I almost never take.
Yeah.
So getting a little more polished, totally fine by me, because I want to be incentivized to take it. It's a really fun talent.
Agreed.
Yeah, we already talked about Zul, but it is worth reiterating that you can now drag cast his skeletal mages. So they're calling it vector targeting.
Ooh.
So cool. We now have a buzzword for this, Kyle.
I like it.
Yeah. So this is very similar to the force push, which the actual name of I can never remember. On oh my God, Kyle, I went blank.
Telekinesis on Alarak.
The Alarak, yes, telekinesis. Thank you. Wow, all names, all things just evacuated my brain. I was going to call him the mean Protoss.
The evil guy, the cool one.
Yeah.
That Zeratil's pretty cool, but he's a little preachy.
Yeah, and he wasn't around for most of Legacy of the Void.
Yeah, for certain reasons. Because he got sucked into the Nexus.
Yeah. Because your theory from the top of the show.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then we also got some reworks for heroes. Zeratul and Karazim are getting fairly sizable reworks. We are not going to talk about every single thing that happened to these heroes.
No.
But
let us paint you a picture.
Yeah. Kyle, you didn't hear this. I told someone at BlizzCon this weekend that you're a very talented teacher, that you're the Bob Ross of heroes. That you, not only are you good at the game, but you understand how to tell people how to play it.
Oh, thank you.
So put on your Afro wig and paint me a picture here.
All right. When I paint with Bob Ross, I watch it at half speed, by the way, which is hilarious. You should do it sometime.
That does
Zeratul.
Yeah. Thank you. You shouldn't have told me that.
Zeratul getting more health. They're changing around his abilities quite a bit. He is going to have a reduced mana cost on Blink and an increased mana cost on Singularity Spike. This is really important because Blink is how you are going to remain sticky over the course of the game. They have upped his burst in some ways, but they've really embraced how he moves in the battlefield. And you'll even hear our interview later that one of my main concerns after watching the Karazim rework is that the stickiness of heroes was becoming too easy. That Varian is going to, when he splits his sword, get an attack or a movement speed increase whenever he lands an attack. We have Samoru doing the exact same thing. And now Karazim, if he goes Iron Fist, will also get a movement speed increase. And as you might assume, movement speed and giving movement speed is the way you increase the DPS of your melee assassins, because they have to close the distance and actually hit the target to do damage. So if you bring in another character that increases their movement speed, you're going to help out that team well. So if you're drafting, you have a high melee team, think about getting something that'll increase their movement speed with it. That's why ETC sees a lot of play too. There's a lot of reasons to take ETC, but that can be even one on top of it, right?
Yeah. I'm afraid of Zeratul now because I still see him from time to time, and there are still very good Zeratul players out there, and some of them are on pro teams and taking him in tournaments in the finals on the world stage.
And you'll often hear Zeratul as one of those sort of kit heroes that should be a part of your roster if you're going for the end goal, but no one really knows why. And we see that in pro games, and maybe in a team environment it's a little more powerful. By the way, my mistake. Rockstar increases your attack speed. The reason ETC works so well with melee heroes is because Power Slide holds them still and doesn't reposition them, so you can actually close in. Anyway, Zeratul is losing block, losing regeneration master, losing rapid displacement, losing seasoned marksman, first aid, follow through, searing attacks. They're all gone.
That's a culling, the likes of which I haven't seen in a while.
It's a biggin, and they're getting rid of a lot of those generic talents.
Yeah, but Zeratul was one of those last bastions, right? He had a lot of them. All of those generic talents. Even though seasoned marksman got an update in this very patch.
The gathering regeneration globes talent that he now has, Shadow Hunter, decreases the mana cost of blink and eventually causes your basic attacks to reduce the cooldown of blink
by a sizable amount, by 3/4 of a second.
Yeah, so already by just thinking about that, and then you add to it at level 7, you can take Slip into the Shadows, which gives your blink a second charge, granted on a longer cooldown, but now you have 2 charges of blink. You can really see how they're starting to target this character in.
Yeah. And do you feel that this was really necessary? Because it did seem with Samoro coming in that it was starting to encroach on his territory a little bit. Not to mention all the tweaks to Nova we've seen.
And I think that's why he got this rework, is they really want him to move in a very unique way, rather than pursuing someone in a straight line as they walk.
Okay.
And in fact, I forget the game at the moment, but in the actual eSports event, we got to see the longest Vorpal Blade cast that I believe has ever happened, as Zeratul got off an auto attack on Dahaka. Dahaka then burrowed across the map, and using his talent was able to teleport to the last thing he attacked, which is a very cool way to make him unique. So they're really embracing that style of play.
Well, I missed that. I didn't see that live. So I know you cannot recall it from the back of your memory. So if chat room doesn't save us, remind me, because I would like to watch that.
It's a pretty sweet move and a very cool Zeratul Dahaka counter, in a sense. You're also going to get a shield talent at level 13. Shroud of Adun. And while you are stealth, here's a reason why the stealth change happened. While you are stealth, you will gain a shield up to 15% of your maximum health.
Very cool. So yeah, this makes a lot more sense now that they made that stealth / cloaked change and clarification.
A little bit of theming and taking away that stone skin that, well, is a Warcraft ability that gave him a shield, and now they've made it Protoss. I love it. You still have to choose it though. It's not passive. It's not built into his kit. So no shields yet for, well, I guess 2 of our Protoss.
Yeah. I'm also very excited about this level 20 talent addition to Protective Prison. The new functionality that enemies will be slowed for 50% for 3 seconds once Void Prison ends. So you come out of it, and any of your buddies that got caught in it can move away at normal speed. And all the bad guys are stuck in molasses.
Granted, that is your level 20 augmentation for it, so you'll be waiting a while, but it is a little more exciting. It still has the old functionality, though, where allies will no longer be affected. So everyone inside level 20, you shouldn't be casting assault on your allies anyway, but should you have done so, granted, it does ruin those awesome moments where everyone's inside the Void Prison, Muradin does a leap and lands midair on top of it and then comes down as it ends.
Yeah. My mistake. Forgot about that.
I like it. So these are all cool changes to Zeratul. Really updates his movements. And that's very exciting for me.
Yeah. Chat room, if you can still hear us, I believe it's Twitch issues. Nothing I can do on my end. It seems to be working fine for me. Now let's move on and talk about Karazim. Lots of changes for him as well. The devs said that his talents have his talents have been updated to create more compelling choices at every tier. So they made sure that Iron Fist and / the Bruiser style of Karazim is viable by increasing its damage uptime. They removed a lot of the generic talents and replaced them with Karazim specific options like Mystic Allies, and rearranged a lot of the tree so that you don't have to sacrifice as much healing to pick mobility, utility, or damage, which is great to hear. You're a big Karazim fan, even if a first pick Karazim is one of the things that maddens you most in this world, Zen God Kyle. But how excited are you about the Karazim rework?
Ridiculously excited.
Okay, good to hear. Cool.
Level 4 is when you're going to pick which ally you want to summon. First of all, they look great, and it's another nod to abilities you most likely used in Diablo 3, because they were real good when you got them at the level. But you're going to choose between a spirit ally, an earth ally, and an air ally. And besides the effects that they have, which is basically going to be your totems now, like you did with a healing totem, these guys are radiant dashable. So if you're playing with people who don't know how Karazim works, or you're playing with Karazim and you don't know how he works, he loves having targets that get back in range so he can dash out. He has a limited area, but it allows him to have the mobility he needs, as we just talked about what's going to happen with your melee characters. They need something to be able to close on the enemies. And then as a support, he needs to be able to get himself out after he makes the save. So you can leave behind one of these totems and then use it as an ally.
I wish we had a dev on right now. How much do you think this is a product of them developing Varian's banners? If someone someone knew Karazim was being worked on, they start working on the banners, like, guys, I have an idea.
Perhaps. This is also the same level that previously had the healing totem and the protective shield on it, and all the other kind of lame generic ones sprinkled in there.
Yeah.
So now this required Mystic Ally pick is really cool. They are killable like totems. They're going to have a set amount of health. Your Spirit Ally, which heals people in the area, same sort of business as your healing totem, has a very small amount of health when compared to something like Earth Ally, which is going to reduce the basic attack damage that allies receive in the area by 50%. And that thing has nearly 1,000 health when you get a hold of it.
Earth Ally?
Earth Ally, yes.
Gotcha. And then Air Ally, which has the smallest amount of health. But
this is your clairvoyance.
Yeah. Gives you a large reveal of an area for 40 seconds. It's only on a 20-second cooldown, and you get 2 charges of it. So.
I don't know if this reveal is the official word reveal now.
Oh, that's a good point.
We're actually going to get stealth reveal out of it, but that doesn't particularly matter. This will allow you to see over walls, as they showed in the development video, be able to dash over said wall to maybe steal a camp, and then dash back to your own ally. It has a very small amount of health. But remember, anytime you summon something in a battlefield, even if it's your Tychus laser, it comes down and does nothing. That was still 1,000 some odd damage that it took instead of you. It's the same thing with the Divine Palm. If you cast a Divine Palm and it doesn't work and they don't die, you're still going to call it off.
Yeah. And, okay, cool.
It's all good.
Things I'm not sure if I should reference. Audio podcasts just assume everything went along swimmingly, and we didn't giggle at all.
There's a ton of changes throughout here, but I think the one that excites me the most, because it's the talent that makes me play Karazim in the right way. It's Way of 100 Fists. And this has been changed to auto attack damage. It is right now spell damage. This is the one where you dash and go boop, boop, with all your little tiny punches. And it's really cool. But as spell damage, it doesn't augment the trait you picked at level 1. Now it will. It'll do reduced auto attack damage, but it will actually put out auto attack. So Iron Fist will benefit, healing will benefit, and insight will benefit.
That's really exciting. This gets me wanting to play Karazim. Not a hero I typically gravitate to, but that synergy that you just mentioned is enough to get me excited. I think the allies is a very, very cool thing as well, but this basic attacks synergy is really great.
And it's another piece of the toolkit that doesn't have to be religiously played upon. Like I mentioned, I believe last show when I was talking about I'm not that into Alarak because do the combo, congratulations, you played right. This is a toolkit hero now, and he's going to be real creative. He also gets a cleanse of his own nature where you Radiant Dash to an allied hero and give them unstoppable by doing so.
Yeah. So do you think this moves him more into the line where you can actually kind of safely build him a different way? Like you can go damage Karazim over healing Karazim? Does it push him more in that direction? Or is he in a Varian type spot now that we are getting a hero that from the ground up has been built that way? Do you think Karazim kind of gets to hang out at the same lunch table?
We know from the presentation that Varian encouraged this playstyle change in Karazim, and by nature of their attention to it, it felt like we might see updates of a similar nature coming to Tassadar and to Ronda. I think Karazim will still struggle to solo support, but he can now get enough damage while still supporting to make that Tassadar or something else to fill in the background, that damage Lili worth it.
Okay. But then I get to play damage Lili. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah. Right now, doubles are in. Double warrior is in, double support is in, because we've got some serious carries in the game. You know, we talked about Kael'thas today, but Vala still is going to kick butt. She needs a lot of help to do so. We saw throughout the esports that Greymane is A-OK, and you should be playing Greymane. But you might want to augment his shortcomings with a double support or a double tank, or maybe, if you're absolutely nuts, you might want to do just Vala and then double tank, double support like we saw in the group phase.
Yeah, that was crazy. Granted, though, if you're going to try and convince your team to do that, you better bring your A game if you are the damage core for the team.
I think Karazim, from the little I've experimented with him on the PTR, will bring a satisfactory amount of damage along the lines of Lili, honestly, if you do Iron Fists.
Sweet. Well, that gets excited and means I will be booking a coaching session with you to learn me some Karazim.
Hey, that's fine by me, man. I love Karazim.
Well, that's it. We did it. We made it through a ton of news that had nothing to do with BlizzCon. It's our post-BlizzCon show, Kyle, and we had a live patch and a soon-to-be live patch to get through, as well as our impressions of BlizzCon and the amazing esports that were on display there.
It's a great time to be into heroes.
I feel like it hasn't stopped. I feel like it's been a great time for at least the last 6 months. And we were off to a bit of a rocky start at the beginning. You remember the Reddit doom saying but it's nuts, the support that this game has had for as long as it has had it. And I don't want to spoil our interview, but you asked John and Claudio if there was any sign of slowing down, and their answer was basically no, there is no sign of slowing down. Which, speaking of which, again, we're about to start our outro, but if you were listening on the audio podcast version, stick around, because we have our interview with John DeShazer and Claudio Gentilini from the Heroes team, which we recorded at BlizzCon. The sound quality won't be as good as this, but it's not bad. You'll just hear some background noise because we were at a con. So enjoy that if you're watching on Twitch or on YouTube. It's a separate video over at youtube.com/YouMoveTV. That's going to do it for this episode. Huge thanks again to our patrons and our Patreon producers, Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. If you want to support Into the Nexus, go to patreon.com/ITN to do so. Really do appreciate it, everyone. We also have the ITN Into the Nexus, what the heck am I going to call it? Say it, words are hard. T-shirt available. Our store has finally been relaunched. It is up and running. It's amovetv.bigcartel.com. We've got a Big Cartel shop set up over there. First shirt up, top left, is Into the Nexus with fake movie credits. Definitely read those. I am proud of them and find them very amusing. And other than that, catch us live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/amovetv or on the mobile live stream provided to us by alphageekmedia.com. You can follow the show on Twitter at ITNcast, and a huge thanks to Gorath and Brian Griffith for our intro and our outro music. enjoy that stuff. Kyle, where can folks find you?
You can find me everywhere online at Kyle Fergusson. It ain't confusing. It ain't very creative. But KyleFergusson.com is where you can find coaching. And this week, if you're interested in more esports talk, particularly what there was to absorb and learn from those games, check out the solo show I do, Solo Q&A. It's available on iTunes and all other places podcasts can be found.
Except Stitcher.
Yes.
F those guys. You can follow me on Twitter at Garrett Art. There are 2 R's and 2 T's in the name Garrett, folks. And everything else is on amove.tv. Might I recommend For Azeroth, the World of Warcraft podcast I have started doing with Jocelyn. Just recorded a new episode that I will be posting as soon as I'm done recording this with Kyle. Had a lot of catch up to do today. This is the 3rd podcast I recorded today. Feeling a little punch drunk. Never.
I'm sorry. I really was about one too many hits of the snake. Is that the next line?
Oh, I guess that is an Aladdin quote, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, punch drunk is just a term that people use from time to time. But oh god, yeah. What was it? It doesn't.
Yeah,
matter.
it was one too many hits of the snake. Slave. I make my 3rd wish.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And hey, we don't run top of the show ads anymore, but we do have codes for you. You can use the code ITN over at doghousesystems.com if you are in the market for a brand new state-of-the-art gaming PC. Because when you use that code, not only are you getting a Doghouse system, which is fantastic and great, and I'm using one and recording this podcast through it right now, but you also get a free solid-state drive added on to your rig in addition to the regular hard drive if you use the code ITN and you support Into the Nexus in the process. We also have the code ITN working over at tweakedaudio.com where you can get 30% off and free shipping off of your entire order of noise-reducing earbuds and headphones from Tweaked Audio. We thank them for their support. We thank you all for listening. And until next time, good luck, have fun, and take the charge talent. Get the stun on Varian. Just do it.
Take charge.